Hi, Dr. Angela here with the lovely Jen Long, and we're gonna basically open up the topic of love and see what comes out. Here we go.
Yeah, love. What's it all about? Yeah. So love is big. It's big.
Yeah.
But I think it's often misunderstood. I think love is used quite universally. You sort of see it everywhere. You know, it's kind of. Which is good actually. I should. It's actually really great that we see it everywhere. Like we see it in words. We see it in, little hearts and heart emojis and in patterns and just kind of everywhere. Like from anything from children's toys to more complex situations for adults. But really, I think because we see it everywhere, we often just consider it as part of the fabric, and we don't really attend to what it truly means or what it truly can do, really. So, yeah, I think I wanted to talk a little bit about that today because just to sort of open the door to the idea of love really can conquer more than we realize. It's funny when we were talking, I'd sort of made the comment about maybe Walt Disney had it right, because at the end of like the great Cinderella stories, and they fell in love, they lived happily ever after. And I remember as a child you're like, oh, that's so awesome, and as an adult you're like, yeah, right. And then they got a mortgage and then this happened and but
all those movies always end with the wedding.
So but because then it comes up to us, right, as individuals, like, what are we going to do with this? So, but I think, they really kind of open the door to, like, just shed some light on maybe we should be looking more at this instead of being so, perhaps dismissive sometimes about love. So, now love can be really loaded for many people because our experiences can be really difficult and challenging at times when we think about love. Like we think about like broken hearts, and we think about or maybe some discord between ourselves and people that should love us, and so it creates walls and barriers around our heart. But really, love in its essence is so powerful and so healing and so transformative, that we really need to take a second look at it and bring it back in. So how do we do that, right? How do you make yourself more open to it? How do you allow the love to come in? So it's a process. It's a process.
I'm remembering when we talked about in the first video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on the Facebook feed, both Jen's Facebook feed and mine. We talked about experiencing some of the negative emotions. I talked about fear and pain in my own body.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of them, it was an early on. And I was like, oh gosh, I just couldn't get rid of the pain. And it was just so overwhelming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't stop flexing against it. And I was like, I knew I needed to cry.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't bring myself to cry. It was like crying constipation. And
right.
I was like, I just need Nick to come home. Nick's my hubby. I just need Nick to come home and then I can cry because I'll hug him and then I'll be able to cry. It's basically I needed to, my body was fighting it into maybe a state of dissociation or not wanting to feel it, where I was like, no, I need to stop this pain and I need to get this done because I have other things that I want to do today. And I just want to do this instead of just waiting within partial pain. So but he just wasn't coming home, and I'm like stuck on this, right? I just need a hug. And then I heard this little voice in my head go, nope, he's not coming home until you do this. And I thought, and it said, you need to learn how to do this with your self-love.
Yes.
And then a few minutes later, I was able to let go, and the ugly crying came, and I was able to release this big, painful thing that was wanting to come out of my system so I could be free of it.
Yeah, the self-love. Yeah. Right. So I'm really glad you brought that term up, because I that in essence is really what it's about. That's where the powerful shifting transformation, that stuff happens. It's not about the relation between yourself and someone else, like whoever that person might be, or a family member, or child, or whatever, your own child, or other people's. That got really awkward.
Oh, my little nephew. No, my best friends. That's so hard.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Little Grant.
Absolutely, because they're so full of love. That's the thing. Like they're so uninhibited about sharing their love, and their hearts are so full, and what a joy, right? What a joy to be in the presence of a little person, or any person that, for that matter, that really can just step into that love. But learning to give that to yourself, that is really important. And how do we do that? So one of the things that I've been experimenting with for myself is to really following this idea of what makes my heart sing. So, we have to do tasks daily, and we're like, oh, I can't stand doing this. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. But they're dishes, so you have to do them, or else they pile up, and you don't have dishes.
Whoops.
Exactly. So, but then there's like some tasks that we just, they're optional, right? And we don't really want to do them, but we do them anyway because we feel this obligation to do it. But then there's some things in our lives where we just get so much joy, like doing it. So whether it's putting on your favorite song and like dancing and singing and whatever, and you just feel like this, this just sort of joy in your heart, or whether it's painting, or whether it's cooking, or whether it's poetry, or maybe it's just walking down by the water because you just love how the water looks, or reading about a favorite topic that just makes your heart sing when you read about it. But it's really tapping in and following your heart, and that's how you really start to foster that self-love. And so on days when we don't have productive things that we have to do necessarily, or sorry, I should say functional things that we have to do, so like the pile of dishes, or go to work, or be at a something, or an appointment, or an obligation, and we have that time and space to be able to kind of navigate our day in the way we want to. That's when you can sort of tap into, what is it that makes my heart sing? What is it that really I enjoy doing? I really, I love reading about, I love reading about crystals.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I love, and I just love like engaging with them. And then recently I taught myself how to make mala necklaces. So I realized that I really enjoy that. And probably will start doing a lot more of it. And in those moments, it's like when you're sitting and doing that thing that it is you enjoy and love, like you just start to feel it. You just start to feel it, like it's like a big sigh, or like, oh, this is so good. This is what I needed to do. This is what or maybe it's like pure excitement, like, oh, I just love like, going and see the horses, or whatever it is that just, it just makes your heart sing. And as soon as you can start to tap into that sort of felt experience, then you can start to navigate through your life. Does that make my heart sing? No. Okay, why am I doing it? If it's not something I have to do for work, or because, or an exam or something, but it's more of like just sort of that felt obligation, like maybe it's a moment to reevaluate, do I have to do this thing? Maybe I don't. Maybe it's optional. And
wow, because you think about all those things that I could be doing for self-care that we think is so good for us. It's almost like I heard a song lyric once, love the music, right? So I'm like cruising down the road, and I'm hearing too many down dogs can be bad for your health. And I was like, whoa, stop the car. She's right. Because if it's not making my heart sing and I'm feeling the obligation to do it, is it? I mean, there's one thing about discipline, which the Chinese, the Asians are great with, you know, within discipline is true freedom, and you'll see that in the native traditions as well. You'll hear that sometimes with some of the animal medicines. But if we're not able to do that from a place of self-love or a feeling of freedom, what makes our heart sing? Is it going to make our heart sing? And I love that.
And the more you start to follow those things that make your heart sing, the more synchronicities start to happen. And the more that, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
The more epiphanies start to happen, the more like aha moments start to happen, the more, and then the more your confidence builds.
So the more we do things that make our heart sing, the more we step into the self, capital S.
Yes, and the more we step into our light.
The more we step into our light. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's sort of, yeah, and then that's where like the universe really just, you know, just guides us, and it's and things line up. They just life starts to align, and yeah, all by listening to our hearts, you know, which is such a beautiful thing, but sometimes so overlooked. Yeah, I think there is, so just to go back to sort of like the healing and transformation that love can also bring on a wider scale. I just want to bring some attention to the fact that there is starting to become some more emerging awareness and research of this. There was a really great docuseries called Love is Medicine that was put out, and I'm not sure, I know there's probably still a website that people can refer to, but there was some really amazing people that were brought together to share their information about the impact of love on someone's healing process through physical illness, through emotional challenges. And so if people wanted to check that out, that was pretty profound. And there's also another really great research called it's called Heart Math Institute, and they're constantly doing research about the connection between the heart and the brain, and sort of what happens when the heart comes into a certain love frequency. And there's some really great resources on that website as well. But there is some emerging research coming out with a lot of, you know, scientific basis, if people, you know, feel more comfortable with that, needing to have that sort of science behind it, that is emerging. But really, I think despite the science, we kind of walk around with this professional access to this group of professionals inside of ourselves. Really, like if we tap into our inner knowing and tap into what makes our heart sing and tap into our inner compass, and we have all that information that we need within us.
Wow, the inner compass.
Yeah. Like it's like we have a whole group of professionals. Like whenever I work with clients, like I reflect to them that, you know, sure, I might have the knowledge base that I have, and I might have the experience working in the field that I have, but they're the expert on that. They have all the knowledge about what their experience is and what their perspective is. I don't have that. Like I only have what I see, what they offer to me, and I only have, you know, just sort of like my own experiences of how maybe other people have experienced that. But, you know, we have a lot of wisdom within ourselves, that if we can create some more space for love, for our self-love, that wisdom will emerge.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I love working with sort of 8 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're so wise.
Yeah.
They don't question themselves nearly enough, or they don't question themselves. They shouldn't question themselves. They don't question themselves nearly as much as adults do. So I actually find it a lot easier in some ways to talk to them and have deep conversations conversations with them than I would with some of the adults I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, and they're so open. They're so open, right? They're so like curious, and they're so. It's interesting you say that because I feel honored to have my own little personal resources of to that age group.
Wow, cool.
So it's like you're absolutely right. Like just the wisdom that they have, they within them, and they just need guidance to understand it, like to make a little bit more a sense of it, in almost to externalize it a little bit more. Like I think there's that knowing, but they don't always have like the words or the how does that come from like in my head outside and then embodied? I don't know.
Yeah, almost like how that inner knowing, how they can maybe help to integrate their inner knowing with the culture that they're living within.
Yes, yeah. That integration process.
The context of their society.
Yes. Yeah. So,
because to stand within the self, within your culture and within your societal norms is, you gotta master it. It's almost like you have it when you're a kid and then you gotta refine it or something. But I really think that
you are so right.
I'm so
glad you said that. Actually, I am so glad you said that. You're so right. I think especially right now. I mean, our climate poses a lot of challenges, and you really being able to know and to step into that self, step into yourself, step into your light, and to navigate what's happening around us is so important right now. So I'm really glad that you brought it to that. Yeah, for sure. I think I love that we sort of like are really focusing on the self today. I think that there is so much more that we can say about love, and I think we should. But I think like today, I think to focus on the self stuff is such a great idea. It's a real starting point, right? And I think we all need that sort of little boost, and to just sort of be grounded in that, be grounded in in ourself, and tap into our inner wisdom, and really just feel good about that. I think for some people, even knowing that they have inner wisdom, that's a new concept. That's a new concept for some people. And not even for a lot of people. Because that's not something that's widely shared.
No.
So,
not in our culture anyway.
Yeah. So we all have this amazing inner wisdom that we all need to allow to emerge and then integrate, like you said. Yeah, I think that's really important process. So.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that I think we have some great ideas for some future conversations, though.
Yeah,
I'm excited. A bunch of stuff is sort of emerging that we really should go there.
Yeah.
But I think really focusing on the self today has been a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
My heart is singing.
Yes. So,
okay.
yes, thank you.
Much love to you all.
Yes, much love to you all.